Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to do an oral and written retell for the story The Goat in the Rug, as told by Charles L. Blood and Martin Link, by Geraldine the Goat, illustrated by Nancy Winslow Parker. We're going to do a modified turn and talk routine where I ask a question. You're going to think about your answer, and then you're going to pair up either with a partner at home or you will be my virtual partner, and then you will share out loud your thinking. Narrative nonfiction. This is the genre of The Goat in the Rug. A narrative nonfiction is a selection about real people, things, animals, or events. These selections are told by a narrator and follow a sequence. So the narrator in our story, The Goat in the Rug, is the actual goat, Geraldine. And it's about a real person, Glenn May. And it goes in a specific order or sequence. So let's review our vocabulary words. Number one, do you remember this word? Yarn, spun thread, thread used for knitting. Yarn. Number two, do you remember this word? Strands, thin pieces of thread, thin pieces of string, strands. Number three, spinning, twisting pieces to make yarn, turning fibers to make string, spinning. Number four, dye, liquid color, liquid used to make color, dye. Number five, weave, to make by crossing materials, braiding materials together, weave. Number six, sharpening, making the edge like a razor, making something sharp, sharpening. Number seven, duplicated, copied, made an exact copy, duplicated. Number eight, delicious, great flavor, tasty, delicious. All right, let's start with our learning target. I can retell the narrative nonfiction, that means true, story, The Goat in the Rug, with my partner using pictures, words, and sentences. Read it again with me. I can retell the narrative nonfiction or true story, The Goat in the Rug, with my partner using pictures, words, and sentences. Success criteria. That means how will you be successful in retelling the narrative nonfiction true story, The Goat in the Rug? Here's our roadmap for success as we climb our learning mountain. I will answer the talk about it questions. I will say and match the characters and setting. I will write or match the lesson or moral of the story, what the characters learned. I will put the retelling pictures in the correct sequence. I will write or match the sentences to each picture, saying what happened first, later, last. All right, if you have a partner at home in your family, here are our turn and talk rules, or you can be my virtual partner. But if you have a partner at home, make sure you're looking at them eye to eye and knee to knee, face each other. Two, first one person talks, that's me, and the other person listens, that's you, or if you have a partner. And then the next person talks and the other person listens. So I want you to share out your thinking in a complete sentence using the sentence frames if you want to. I can't hear you, but do the best you can is sharing out your thinking. Don't talk too long or we won't have enough time for a turn or in the lesson. So if you have a partner, or if you don't and you're my partner, say whether you agree with me or disagree. I agree with you, Mrs. Pearson, because, and say why, or I disagree with you, Mrs. Pearson, because, and say why. So here's our first major event in our narrative nonfiction. And if we were to go back to the Journeys textbook, we would reread pages 280. So our first question is, where do Glenn May and Geraldine the goat live? So here's a picture clue and think back in the story. Where do Glenn May and Geraldine the goat live? And say it in a complete sentence. They live in, Well, they live in Window Rock, Arizona. Remember, there's a hole right here over here in this rock, and they call it Window Rock, Arizona. So they live in Window Rock, Arizona. What culture is Glen May a part of? The woman is Glen May. Geraldine is the goat. What culture is Glen May a part of? Glen May is part of the do you remember? Glen May is part of the Navajo nation or Navajo culture. She is a Native American. All right, number 2. Here's the second major event. Here's your question. If you were reread the Journeys text, you could find your answer on pages 282, and I think I made a mistake, 283. What is Glen May doing to Geraldine? So Glen May is the woman, Geraldine is the goat. And why is Glen May doing this? Look closely at the picture. Do you remember? Glen May is, and tell me what she's doing and say why. Because Glen May is because, all right, Glen May is shearing or shaving or cutting off the strands of mohair because she wants to weave a rug made out of the hair of a goat. She's going to make yarn. So Glen May is shaving Geraldine because she wants to make a rug. So number 4, what is the wool from Geraldine called? And what is the first thing Glen May does with it? So you're going to have to think back. What is the wool from Geraldine called? And what is the first thing Glen May does with it? The wool is called, the first thing Glen May does is, so the wool is called mohair. The first thing Glen May does is, I believe she uses a brush and brushes through it so that she can get all the things out of it and clean it. And then she washes it. Number 3, the third major event. Third major event. Look closely, reread pages 292 in the Journeys textbook if you were to have it. What is the name of the tool on which Glen May is hanging her yarn? So what tool is she using? And what is it used for? The tool is called it is used for, so the tool is called a loom. It's used for weaving a rug and getting the weaving started. So, number 6, how has Geraldine changed since the beginning of the story? So look at her. Look at her now. And think back, even if you were to go backwards, look at her. How has she changed? All right. In the beginning, Geraldine. So, then, and now. So, in the beginning, Geraldine had a lot of hair. Then Glen May cut it all off, and now she looks much thinner and much lighter and less hot, I would think, because she had all of that wool taken off of her. Last major event, if you were to go back and reread pages 294 to 296, you could answer these questions. Why is Glen May's rug special? Why is Glen May's rug special? Glen May, oh, excuse me. Glen May's rug is special because Glen May's rug is special because Glen May's rug is special because it is one of a kind. It's a work of art. It cannot be duplicated. Why is Geraldine interested in the rug? Why is Geraldine interested in the rug? Geraldine is interested in the rug because, well, I would say she's interested in the rug because she is a part of it. Glen May used her wool and wove it into this beautiful work of art. Okay, let's do a completed retell of the story, The Goat and the Rug. So first we need to think about who are the characters in the story, and we're going to say it in a full complete sentence. The characters were, who were the characters? Think. Say it out loud. The characters were, you got it. The characters were Geraldine and Glen May. The setting, where did the story, the narrative nonfiction story, the true story take place? Where did it take place? The setting was, where were they? The setting was Window Rock, Arizona. Remember, there's the little hole in the rock, so that's why they call it a window, like you can see through it. Window Rock, Arizona. And the special thing about Glen May is she is part of the Navajo Nation because she's a Native American. So let's think about what happened first, later, next, last. Let's put these pictures in the correct sequence. It's the same sequence in which we talked about them. Oh, I forgot. We're going to write, usually because in the classroom we cut these three pictures first. We're going to do the character setting and then the lesson or the moral. So let's read down here. In the end, Geraldine learned. What did Geraldine learn? Geraldine learned that it takes time to weave a rug. It takes a lot of time to weave a rug because there's a lot of steps too. And it's a very detailed and intricate process. So in the end, Geraldine learned that it takes time to weave a rug. So let's think about what happened first, later, next, and last. These are kind of the steps on how to weave a rug. So let's look at the first major event. Think what's happening in this picture. First, I'll read it to you. This is a true story told by Geraldine the goat. Glen May was a Navajo weaver who decided to weave a rug made from Geraldine's wool. And if you noticed, I underlined the word weave. So let's look at the next picture. What's going on here? Later, what does Glen May do? Glen May sharpened her scissors and clipped off Geraldine's mohair in long strands. She needed it to make yarn for spinning. So if you noticed, I underlined sharpened, strands, yarn, and spinning because those were some of our vocabulary words. So let's read it. Later, Glen May sharpened her scissors and clipped off Geraldine's mohair in long strands. She needed it to make yarn for spinning. Let's look at the next picture. What is Glen May doing and what is Geraldine watching her do? What is she thinking? So next, Glen May hung the wrapped yarn on a loom. Geraldine watched her weave a design that would never be duplicated. So again, I underline the words yarn, weave, and duplicated. Let's look at the last picture. What's going on there? What do you remember from the narrative nonfiction story? Last, all right, last, Glen May's weaving was finally finished. It was a work of art. Geraldine would always be a part of the rug. So let's go back and reread our retell of The Goat in the Rug up at the top. Retell of The Goat in the Rug. Read it along with me and say it out loud. The characters were Geraldine and Glen May. The setting was Window Rock, Arizona. First, this is a true story by Geraldine the Goat. Glen May was a Navajo weaver who decided to weave a rug made from Geraldine's wool. Later, Glen May sharpened her scissors and clipped off Geraldine's mohair in long strands. She kneaded it to make yarn for spinning. Next, Glen May hung the wrapped yarn on a loom. Geraldine watched her weave a design that would never be duplicated. Last, Glen May's weaving was finally finished. It was a work of art. Geraldine would always be a part of the rug. In the end, Geraldine learned that it takes time to weave a rug. So think about all those steps that Glen May did to weave this beautiful work of art. All right, let's reflect on our learning. How do you think you did, boys and girls? Our learning target was I can retell the narrative nonfiction true story, The Goat and Rug, with a partner using my words, pictures, and sentences. 4, I could teach this lesson. I easily answered the questions with my partner or with me and completed the Retell graphic organizer. 3, I was able to answer most of the questions with my partner or Mrs. Pearson and completed the Retell graphic organizer. 2, I was able to answer some of the questions and completed some of the graphic organizer. Or 1, I was not able to answer the questions and did not complete the graphic organizer. Again, our goal is to get a 3 or a 4. How do you think you did, boys and girls? And thank you for reviewing the story with me. I hope you had a great time. Talk to you soon.